G'day listeners, today we're here with Alex Kain, author of The Philosophy. We're going to obviously chat about philosophy, how we can restructure society, how to get it done. We'll chat about Alex's backstory in politics, what other countries are doing around the world, Bhutan, Cambodia. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Welcome to My First Party, the podcast where we meet the people rebuilding politics from the ground up. I'm Owen Miller, the convener and a candidate for the Fusion Party.
Yeah, and I'm just Peter Carjadas, so I'm advocating for the devil as usual.
Okay, so Alex, great to have you. So you on the devil's side? Maybe not.
Well, me and the devil were like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so for those, as we mentioned earlier, Alex is the author of the book, The Philosophy. So Alex, it was interesting reading through some of these comparisons. I saw you were comparing it to Rutger Bregman, Utopia for Realists, the one about the circular economy, donut economics.
Yep.
Also The Secret,
Yes.
which I found a bit surprising because I guess, like dreaming of a much better society, it can feel a bit sort of mystical, a bit otherworldly sometimes, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the secret part of it is we can manifest a world that we want, but we've got to know what we want first. And I think that articulation, sometimes people just get too scared. It's too pie in the sky. And so we shy away and we water it down and go for something that's more palatable. And we never really get to where we want to get to.
But what if people are seeing something that's not palatable to the majority's best interests?
Well, I mean, the first line of my book is, what's the point? What's the point of life? And I think that's where we've got to start from. Like everything else is really to facilitate that, whatever that point is. So I think we need to understand why we're here. Is it to spend 5-6 days a week working to put food on the table, or is there other higher things at play that we could be doing?
I noticed actually, do you remember the Unabomber? He was, I guess, most notable for like questioning, is modern industrial society like really fulfilling to many people? And I guess, even though his ideas didn't catch on, there does seem to be like an ongoing feeling like, as you say, is this all there is? Like, can't we, isn't there something that's going to be more fulfilling than this?
Well, I was going to say, but even if this is all there is, there's more effective ways of making this, attractive, how we make it. It's about the journey, in my view anyway, not about, some other ultimate destination if it exists. How do we make this life as fulfilling as possible?
Yeah, and I think that is the journey now for us. We're in this life. Yeah. This is what it is.
That's all we know.
But do we know it to be? Should it be this hard for so many people?
Correct.
Should it be this unjust and unfair for so many people?
Equity. How do we achieve equity?
Yeah.
Actually, yes. Well, Alex, one of the things I was reading in the summary on your website, you mentioned as well the idea of questioning everything.
Yeah.
We live in an age where we're unsure sometimes what's even real. Are there any instances that spring forward for you?
Well, I think we need to question everything, like the systems and processes that govern our society. In the book, I do question our political system, economic system, our legal system, our health system, our education system.
This is mainly just Australia?
Well, no, it's a global questioning, because a lot of them are flawed just from their own design. So, for instance, I see the education system as a missed opportunity globally. Rather than just teaching kids subject matter, it really should be an incubator for nurturing great human beings. But we're missing that, and what we're doing is we're following on from the Industrial Revolution. We mass produce people, put them through the meat machine, and spit them out at the end in the hopes of increasing our GDP.
Yeah, we've actually, even like the way they've done it in Australia with the NAP plan, they basically said now you go to teach a curriculum to spit out certain results, which is linked to your funding. So it becomes a real self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, the tail wagging.
Yeah, exactly. To that point you're making there. So they've even designed the system to the nth degree that even as teachers, they can't do, because let's face it, no one really gets into teaching for the money, right? Or just because of the public holidays and school holidays. It's because they have a passion. The good teachers, everyone remembers the teachers that had a real material impact on their lives. but they're forced to teach this curriculum that is the tail,
Yeah.
wagging
That's
that
it.
dog.
Reminds me, there's that French philosopher quote. If you want to build ships, don't teach the people how to, cut wood, how to hammer it together. Teach them, give them a yearning for the sea, the wide open sea. And,
That's right.
Yeah, they want to conquer that part.
And I think that to me is the core thing. If we can solve the education system becoming that foundation for humanity, that it starts there, then a lot of the troubles that we see playing out in society later won't materialize. But what we've done is we've said, let's leave it up to the home. They'll get their values from the home, and that's how it should be. And let's stay out of that. We'll just teach them subject matter. And I think that's flawed because it's variable what people get in their home environment. The schooling system is a single touch point that every child globally could be exposed to. And we have an opportunity to instill really strong values through that system. And then if we teach respect, empathy, gratitude as subjects, as important as maths and science, we have the potential to have kids coming out at the end of that, at the age of 18 or whatever, having had that exposure all their way through, of being very different people than people who we hope they got it in the home. We've taught them some subject matter. They may have picked up some values from inferred texts, and that's it. But I'm saying we should be more overt about it.
Well, I think what you're saying, I'm picking up, is that the system's actually engineered to achieve that, but they're actually using it in a different way. So we saw, like in 2020, I'm pretty sure it's 2020, the Morrison, whatever they want to achieve in what we produce, the system is designed to deliver that. And I'll give you an example. So in 2020, the Morrison government changed funding, or what it costs to study at universities, right?
Oh, okay.
And I remember they released that just as they announced, they were going to spend $10 billion on missiles as a deterrent because China is, tapping in on IT. But what they did that week, the same week on Friday, because I was punching a whole bunch of things on Fridays, was change the funding model for universities. Because in their infinite wisdom, they realized that in the forward 10 years, we didn't need people studying arts and being curious in the arts field. So what they said is, it's going to cost you the same to study arts as medicine.
Oh,
Because they knew that in 10 years' time, they could predict the future jobs of the future. So again, they're going to create a generation, or take out a generation of students being curious at university.
yeah. This generation can be less artistic
Correct.
now, less
Yeah.
sassy.
Just curious.
Less curious.
Yeah. So in the universities now, and even now, I'll say it, even what they're telling universities, if you speak about anti-Zionism, etc., just freedom of speech, and what universities are really should be set up for. They're changing it. So back to your point, the system is set up to deliver what people we want and how to think and behave and what values and what we value. So therefore, it can be shifted to create other outcomes. It's just back to the point I always say in all our conversations, you get the government you deserve. And the system and education system we have, it's because of our apathy and ignorance, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy of it's been all these generations that have allowed this to happen, and here we are. It's you get what you deserve at the end of the day.
I wonder actually on that point of arts funding, I can see that many governments, especially conservative governments, they're not too.
Labor has been the biggest culprit on this too.
Well, I'm saying but especially conservative governments don't like the notion of universities being like a breeding ground for political ideas.
Yeah, don't have ideas at university.
Well, it's like, in engineering and science, I guess that has like less pronounced political involvement than say, the arts departments. So it makes sense from their perspective. Like let's cut off the arts department. Yeah. You see, like in New York, I remember these past few months, like there was a lot of fuss in the, I still keep tabs sometimes of the US news, and like they were upset a lot about these protests at like Columbia University, for instance. It's actually there was a bit of backlash. So last week, was it, when there was a big march across the Harbour Bridge? Yeah, some people were saying that's right, Andrew Hastie, this Liberal guy. Yeah, he was saying like this is an Australian icon, and they're sort of desecrating it with their protest. It's a long
But you know,
bow to draw.
if you go back to the fundamentals of what Menzies Liberal Party was, they were like their campaign posters were pro-unions. If you go back to the very start, they were campaigning it with the pro-union sort of campaign. Like,
Because Menzies was what, the 50s?
yeah.
Yeah,
We never spent any time here, mind you, but that's what they began on. It wasn't until really, you know, after Fraser that they kind of switched there and thought, you know what, why should we go down that path? The Conservatives are going to vote for us anyway. Let's just switch it. The middle group, you know, that's who we have to sort of tap into, that kind of racist bit in Australian group. But they started off totally different.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Alex, what's your political history? Like, would you call yourself political, for instance?
I've had some affiliations. I was actually a campaign manager for a Liberal
Okay.
person at some stage.
I think we're going to lose a few viewers.
No, that's all right. But what that did was it got me in to see the workings of how campaigns work and how parties operate, and it's an eye opener, you know.
The machinations, the machinery of it.
Yeah, all of it, and the motivations and agendas and everything else behind it all. And I think that pushed me out of politics because of that. You know, and in the book I talk about, you know, particularly the major parties and how they're you know, if you want to have a voice, you can't really have a voice in a party because in a major party, because you're not free to cross the floor, even if they say you can.
Well, and that's crossing the floor. Like, I don't know if you saw in the news today, there was a guy, sorry to interrupt, but there's a guy from the New South Wales Parliament, a Labor guy, who came out in the media. It was like, because he absolutely spoke internally in their caucus about his anti-Zionist commentary and how the New South Wales Premier and his comments. And he was like having a go at his Labor colleagues and saying, you know, even amongst us, you guys were like almost vilifying me, if not even silently. So even within that, he felt he did have a voice within his own caucus.
Yeah, and I think that's quite common in most of the major parties, is that toe the party line or you're out, or you're snuffed out in terms of your career progression.
Well, remember Ed Yusuf. So he was a federal Labor minister for innovation. I used to get his alerts, and I guess not much innovation was happening while he was around. But anyway,
He's played a lot of time to innovate.
But that's a good point. It could be coming later.
He's now a renovation minister.
But yeah, so like once he got demoted from the ministry, then he started speaking openly about how I think, I'm pretty sure he's Muslim, and so he was.
I remember. He made some good points. Yeah.
Well, but like, you know, he didn't have the guts to do it while he was actually a minister. It's only once he realizes his career's over that he actually starts speaking about stuff.
Fair. And that's the problem. It's like, here's the party's agenda. You're all in on this, whether you agree or not. And I think that makes it really difficult to have democracy within a party, even, you know, to get your voice heard and to steer the party, because unless you follow and toe the line. So I have real issues with the way politics runs in Australia and overseas.
Absolutely. I love how at least Penny Wong has been able to differentiate herself from Albanese and come out and say, you know, the stuff we sell, you know, to Israel, that part of the aeroplanes are weaponized.
The non-violent parts.
It's the comfortable part of the seat. And like, you know, I'm not like Albanese in that way. Like, she doesn't say that. But I would fight for her just because she's a female, just to start off with, and you know how differentiated she is. Like, I was touched. I was really touched.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But on that point, actually, so Alex, I gather like you feel, you know, people need to like take action into their own hands. You know, they can't just rely on the party.
Well, I see government as an instrument to implement things. I don't see that the ideas necessarily bubble up from inside government. And that's why it takes us to bring these ideas forward. And that's through a movement, that's through protesting, it's whatever it is. It's how you get... The government actually has to facilitate those changes.
It's a yes now, but back to the point we were making before, collectively, where that is what we're related. So we have, here in Australia now, how we've got like corrupt, incompetent morons So that's where we've landed, and we've had this
I like
discussion
that
in the
summary.
past, right? We've had this,
And those are the good ones.
yeah, that's the good points, right? Because you haven't got ScoMo advocating, in America, telling, because
There's imminent war with China. Yeah.
tell us where you work and who you work for now, and what you set up before you went, right? Don't, get that grin off your face, right? And so back to the point where these are the morons we have now, where we've still got Barnaby and the rest. So once upon a time, we may have had some proper people in, and we can still get the proper people in. And, we've had someone else here before who was, their main gripe was less government. Less
that's
government.
right, yeah.
I was like, no, it's got to be effective government. You get the right people in. And then, yes.
But I don't think fix the right people. I think you need to fix the system before you bring the right people.
I said effective government. And in order to deliver the effectiveness, you need then the right people who can deliver that too. You don't need the corrupt, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So all the things have to be in place. It isn't just about system. It's always process, people, and they're the key things. And then obviously all the infrastructure. But you need the right people too. So we can't think about it based on the idiots we have now, because that's where we've landed, because we've allowed the system to get to that point.
And that's why I say, for me, it's system first, because you're probably not going to attract. I mean, there's lots of good people around, but a lot of them are saying, I'm not going to go into politics because look at what's going on. I think the system needs to be set up where, you have the means to get your voice heard, you have the means to do effective, and you're held to a higher standard.
Yes.
And you can't be taking donations from,
Yes.
like, a company cannot be donating to both sides and just hedging their bets and going, look, whichever one of you gets in, it's an IOU.
But take it back from the other side, the donations itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, hang
No,
on.
no,
You need
no.
donations. How are you meant to fund it?
Okay, but again, just a standard line saying donations. Then we have to then demarcate that and what it means, and then to disclose.
They often
and
come with
right?
strings attached.
Absolutely. So there's all other aspects that have to be determined. The other aspect, and we've discussed this before, you can't have a ScoMo who had a position or a
you can't set yourself up for this.
so you can't have a portfolio as a minister and then get a job in that
same industry. Yeah.
That just reeks of corruption.
Yeah.
There is no thing that, forget the pub test. That's it. You cannot do that.
Yeah. I am inclined to agree with you on that point.
You never did at the start.
You can be convincing, Peter. Actually, on that point, you were mentioning donations, and I guess that's part of my hesitancy. The TLs describe themselves as independent, and they'll criticize, same as you've done now. You criticize the fossil fuel donations to Liberal and Labor, and I don't like fossil fuel companies, but the fact that they're donating, I think. How can we say that makes?
But what is a donate? Why do you donate? For what purpose are you?
Well, sure.
As a corporation, why am I donating to a political party?
Well, so we would hope that it's just we agree with your ideas, we'd like you to be successful. But then if it's
Look, a unicorn.
but if it's like tens of millions of dollars, and if it's a corporation doing it, then they want
Corporations are not donating money because they want to feel nice and fuzzy.
You ever heard the expression, buy me flowers first?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, okay.
And this is the problem. So yes, in theory, donations will help raise money to facilitate, but they come with strings attached. So we need to find other ways to fund campaigns, and campaigns shouldn't have to cost millions upon millions upon millions. And if you have to hit people over the head with a message, something's wrong with the message.
Oh, well, to be fair, many people are tuning out. I mean, you see, like in any Australian election, at least 5% of votes never even get cast.
But sorry, just that point about the message. We did have someone here, right, who was running for state parliament.
Which person are you thinking of?
Libertarian.
Oh, yeah. Oh, federal, she was. Yeah.
It was a federal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she was running against me, yeah.
Yeah. And I kept saying to them, but why? What is your policy? Because all I'm hearing is soundbite. We believe in smaller government. I'm like, I get it, but what is your policy? What's the end game that you're trying to achieve here?
She just wants shorter people.
Yeah, smaller government, but was in favour of no tax or less tax for the miners. This, I'm like, and she even liked, anyway, we'll go into all this stuff. And I'm like, yes, I understand the soundbite. I understand people just love a soundbite, but this can't be what you're running on and standing on.
Oh, well, but this isn't all politicians. I mean,
No, I get that. But if that's the caliber of what, as you said, people are tuning out,
Yeah.
because that is what's being given to them.
Yeah.
So if you've got mining companies and the like paying these politicians, well, that's effectively what they're doing. We're calling it donations, but they're paying the politicians because Parliament is filled with lobbyists. They walk around. What do? Do they say tea and coffee, anyone?
Yeah. But Peter, to your point that, okay, sure, you don't like, the libertarian policies, but
No, I didn't know. I'm asking you. Tell me what the
yeah, sure. But you're saying like the libertarians are setting a low standard. Look at, I see these massive billboards that say, this woman running against me for the Liberal Party should be a strong voice for Aston. That's it. That's the billboard.
Yeah, but so you agree with me?
Well, yeah, I'm saying that the Liberal Party is setting it even lower.
I get you. I'm saying they're all like that's where the standard is. Yeah.
Well, but I don't think the solution is so much let's put a cap on donations, let's get the donations through somewhere else. I think it should be much easier. So like for the council election.
But back to his point where he was saying that we need to change the system, right? So if everyone now is comfortable with this is what it is. So we're taking these donations, we're all part of this, and we've allowed it to get to this point where the message now and the narrative is now just these low-level sound bites. And because the government, the parties, including the big ones, don't have to do any work anymore.
Yeah.
So they just spout out sound bites.
Yeah, just very generic.
Correct. And that's why people tune out, because there is nothing, cerebral to get and be involved in.
Yeah, but so Alex, you probably were saying, remember in October the council elections here. So all the candidates running, they each got to write a 200-word statement, and like that quickly, a friend was telling me the other day, if they say, for instance, family values, like I know what that means. Within 200 words.
That's an SEO keyword, right? I want to rank for that key phrase. I mean, you can spout out lots of things. I think, and look, my book really talks about forget everything you know. Because all we're doing is looking at the current things and putting band-aids on things to try and get it and massage it to where we think it should be. I'm saying forget everything you know and just go, okay, what's the point of life? What are we here for? Start with the very base. And I know it's very esoteric and it's, fluffy stuff. But I think that's where you've got to start from, is like, what's the point of us even being here, right? Okay. Are we here just to work, to be productive? Are we here to be creative? Are we here? What's our purpose? And that's why I call the book The Philosophy, because you've got to start from that, and then actions come from that. But I don't think we even give ourselves that ability to think that broadly. We're just so focused on, but you've got to have a job and you've got to do this. And I don't think we really think of alternatives. We don't really consider big picture. How else could we be doing this?
Well, on that note, actually, Peter, Alex, are you familiar with Bhutan, what they're up to?
Specifically?
The Kingdom of the Dragon, I think they call themselves. So a few years back, they said that instead of just GDP, they're going to aim for the World Happiness Index.
Yeah.
I think they might have been the first. And so I was double checking my notes just before the podcast started, actually. So I was reading recently, they're doing a new city building project, as the style is at the moment. And so they, what were they calling it? The mindfulness city. It's going to be, the size is going to be larger than Singapore. And so they're going to build along like these ribbon-like structures along the rivers. They're going to have big bridges with infrastructure inside the bridge, so as not to disrupt too much of nature. But then reading what they're putting there, there's a university, a cultural center. It makes me question, is it just build it and they'll come?
But what are they building differently? What makes it part of the happiness index?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the mock-ups, I'll include a few on the YouTube stream, but it does look like a city unlike anything you've seen before. But then just, building these buildings, building a university, like who's actually going to come? It's very hard. Sure, they're very spiritual, very religious in Bhutan, but then
So it's painful.
They don't have much of an economy though. So so 56% of these people work in agriculture, forestry. One of their major exports is selling hydropower to India. But then fascinating twist. So since they have all this cheap hydropower, they're in the mountains around Nepal, with very cheap electricity means crypto mining. And so now they have over $1 billion in their bank from Bitcoin, and they also have the quote unquote weakest armed force in the world. So I mean, it sounds like a potential coup.
Stay tuned for Bitcoin.
Or if you have $1 billion in the weakest army in the world,
So you're saying it's something we should to bet on?
Oh no, you didn't do it.
All right, that's it.
Thank you very much.
it seems like a massive security risk. But also, you know, they're doing something right. They are keeping up with the modern world.
Yeah. And look, I like the idea of the happiness index. I think what I talk in the book about reevaluating contribution. Is contribution just working 9 to 5 job and being productive in that way, earning money to go and put food on the table and a roof over your head? Is that's what we value currently, right? If you're not doing that, you're not being productive. And I'm saying contribution is a whole lot of other things. That's one option. But, you know, volunteering is contribution. You know, looking after aged care and doing a whole lot of other things that you could be doing is contribution. And yet we don't value that. And I think that's part of the problem, because if I want to go and volunteer, I am helping a number of people. You're not paid for it. And so I would argue that that has value that we don't reward. And so we need to think about our value system. And I mean it from a systemic point of view. Our value system. We pay money so you can have food and a roof over your head, but in order to do that, you're going to have to trade time. And if I go back to what's the point of life, it is probably to reach the potential that we can with the time that we have. So it kind of goes anti that if we're spending all our time just working. So those are the sorts of things I say we need to start questioning.
No, 100%. If I've got to a point in my life where if I hear anyone talk to me about how much they love sipping the LinkedIn Kool-Aid, I'm just like, poor you. Poor you.
To be fair, they don't call it that, do they?
No, don't call it that.
Yeah.
But, you know, and if I see anyone and it pops up, I've just got to figure out it.
You could advance your career.
No, it's like I want to announce that I've been promoted to this, like, oh my God, your self-worth, like, poor you.
It is eye-opening seeing some of the comments on Twitter, well, I guess 4chan, Reddit, they're really nasty to each other. But then I guess on LinkedIn, you know, it's everything's good vibes.
It's like good vibes, you know. Obviously, I don't want to sort of say anything about work, and not me.
I'm pleased to announce I've just been awarded this and that.
It's like you poor individual.
But all this is aimed at trying to sell ourselves to get more money, right? At the core, this is what it is. We're selling ourselves.
It's like, as a serf, you should be happy.
Well, but this is the
Very happy being a serf.
I wonder to make some of the viewers are aware as well. Alex, you're familiar with Francis Fukuyama, The End of History?
No.
Peter?
I will be when we edit this.
I thought it was a pretty...
You and I've still got time.
No, I prefer not to sound ignorant and incriminate myself on these things. So.
But for the viewers as well, the end of history is the notion that we've had all these different political ideas, how to govern society over the years. You know, we have had serfdom, you know, feudalism. Is that exactly the same?
Well, I don't think, my point is, has it really changed? It's just the way it's kind of manifested, to pick the secret out. Like we've got our tech lords now, right? And the way it's happening, and everyone's like in debt and things. Like, we're not actually working on the fields now, and we're renting plots here. We have to give bits to the lord here, but really, if you break it down, it's really the same existence.
Exactly.
And the cost of living, the cost of living is you work the fields, you give it that, and they'll come back and say, I like your little daughter, I'm going to take that. Like, it's different, but it's the same.
Well, yeah, so this was, so I was hearing an analysis the other day of The End of History. So this person isn't quite as optimistic in that. They're saying that consumerism is basically how we can characterize our current society.
Absolutely.
And
Debt.
Consumerism.
It has a lot in common with like the serfdom of the past,
100%.
where we're all pursuing this sort of unattainable goal. And it keeps the masses happy. They're not going to have a revolution. They're sufficiently distracted by their current goal of, you know, the rat race and like keeping up with the Joneses. And so the rise of communism in, around like 1910 was a challenge to this. And as much as they resisted, and so, many viewers might be unfamiliar with the fact that, so after World War I ended,
Don't be good. As viewers, you'd know.
yeah, that's a good point, sorry. But yeah, so the viewers would be very familiar with the fact that after World War I ended, there was still fighting between the Red Army and the White Army. And so the White Army...
Who sponsored the war?
Well, exactly. So the White Army, they were more loyal to the previous system, the monarchists, and they were actively being propped up by the West,
absolutely.
Britain and America, after the quote-unquote end of World War One. But, we all know that, the Reds eventually won. They stayed in power for decades. But yeah, so, communism was seen as this great threat because it upsets the balance of capitalism. And indeed, many of these ideas got adopted, many of the communist ideas, they were framed more as socialist. And so,
just to tie that off, though, people always forget this, that the theory of communism is that it was always meant to be universal, right? It was a political theory. It was meant to be either universal or it doesn't exist as a theory.
Oh, that's
so. Therefore, when Stalin took over,
he wanted the world. Yeah.
No. So to understand Stalin, you got to see what anyone does, like follow the money kind of thing.
Yeah.
So to understand Stalin, he then changed it and said, no, we're going to have communism in one state, single state, which by default then ceases to be communism. Because they stopped it being a world thing, other than I'm going to then do as part of its political games. But once you stop being a global revolution, it ceases to be communism. Then it just became...
It doesn't work.
Then it became a brand. Then it became branding of the military, the way the CIA in America did it. It was different.
Wait, yes, so did Lenin want the global style?
Marxism, communism is a global phenomenon, like capitalism. It either is or it isn't.
I remember reading
it's
that.
Like being pregnant.
Can't be half pregnant.
You can't be half pregnant. So communism, by definition, is a global phenomenon where everyone then becomes, and you have the vanguard that started, etc. Then it becomes, that's the whole theory, right? Without going into everything.
So you're saying Stalin's not just, tempering his expectations.
Stalin chased Trotsky to Mexico and had him executed. So to understand what the USSR became, you just look at what Stalin did. So he basically stopped the global revolution. And I'm not saying it was just him, but he did what he did. And then he declared communism in a single state, which then by definition means it's no longer communism. So then you have different forms of, okay, what is a socialist state? You could have different versions of it and try to have equity, like you can talk about Sweden and the like, but then go break into different things. But just as the viewers all understand, communism in a single state is not communism.
Sure.
It's a branded.
I guess the point I was
They
trying
were doing a proof of concept.
Correct.
I guess I wanted to get
for the Americans.
I wanted to make the point that that capitalism before 1910 and after about 1960.
Yes.
What's different then is that consumerism is now present, where previously it was like you have the elites and they spend the money and you'll get some scraps. Versus now, it's like all of us sort of exploiting each other.
Up until then, and then after that point, that's when the neoliberalist politics really kicked in.
Yes.
Where then they said, there's a lot of public funds here. How do we then really get the rest of it too?
I guess, especially the corporate raiders.
Yes.
But so one of the ideas, for instance, I was saying that some of these communist ideas did catch on. So like Henry Ford, for instance, was saying that one of the factors in like setting wages for his factory workers was that like someone has to be able to buy these cars that they're working on the production lines to make. So like if these workers can't afford the cars themselves, like then the whole system sort of falls apart.
Except for the Jews, he didn't want the Jews buying anything. Apparently,
I did hear that. Yeah, Nazi sympathizer. Yeah,
he was a very big guy.
Okay.
And he also got a lot of compensation from the U.S. Army for bombing his factories in Germany.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's fun. Good paradox.
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say Henry Ford's communist speech. No. You can have any car you like, any colour, as long as it's black. It's very communist.
Okay. Only red cars being produced in Michigan.
Well, have you guys noticed actually with cars, with homes as well, there's this odd phenomenon where people aren't so much buying what they want anymore. They're often thinking about the resale value. I mean, I remember my parents, they always used to buy white cars And they said it's not.
scratch and
Well-
resell. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were saying so much. Like I asked them, how come we don't get like pink or something? And they said, no, we have to get white because that like when we resell it, they want white.
And the most
And it's a
common.
gay car. We're not getting a gay car in Canberra.
But same as houses. I think like
They can't have a pink house either.
oh, well, I was thinking more getting a bath in the bathroom.
Oh,
like
right.
I haven't,
That's a nice
I thought people always have showers now, don't they? And yet like
I'd
people
like a
keep getting
bath.
a
I think you still got to have a bath.
I think a bath. I'm going to get a bath in mine.
okay.
But I think, look, capitalism has a lot to answer for. It's great in terms of generating innovation, and there are some good points, but it also turns everything very competitive, and it makes it a dog-eat-dog world. And that brings all the stuff with it.
But do we really have capitalism when these major corporations get bailed out, they get subsidized? So fine, let's have capitalism. Let's really have that. Like when we had our libertine friend here as well, I'm like, you're advocating these things, but what we really have is corporate socialism, right? Where
The oligarchy.
yeah, the oligarchy, they're like, well, they're too big to fail. Let's bail them out. I'm like, so we have welfare for the rich, but not for everyone else. And, you watch affairs like a welfare cheese. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's Gina. Like, and she's like, no, they shouldn't pay tax. I'm like, what? You're saying...
her argument was that Gina is paying a lot of tax and we don't give her...
No, she said, oh, but they create jobs. I said, no,
Yeah,
it's
that too.
immaterial the amount of jobs versus what they don't pay and what we could be like Norway and beyond.
Yeah.
No.
To be fair to Rachel, though, one thing that popped up when I was reading through the philosophy, you mentioned that we need a system more geared around respect, empathy, gratitude.
That's what I wasn't demonstrating.
No, I mean, like, when Rachel was talking about, how we should be able to rely on the nonna up the street. That's pretty similar, isn't it, Alex, to empathy?
Sure, but that's at the micro level, not as a political solution.
I don't know, we got enough nonnas together.
That is true.
No, I-
Anonymous state.
Yeah, there you
Anonymous
go.
state.
But anonymous.
Anonymous state.
I think it is...
Just pixelate them all.
I think it is... it starts at the grassroots. It starts with, and I talk in the book, go talk to your neighbour. So many people live isolated and
100%.
siloed, and we're either too scared to go and meet people who might be a bit different than us, or
Look at this combo.
Yeah,
This should not work.
the odd couple. But yeah, we're either scared or even worse, disinterested.
and in other people.
No, just
In other
engaging with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're comfortable with those that are our echo chamber, right? People who are like us and talk like us and tell us what we want to hear. And I think part of that problem is that we don't expose ourselves to diverse
Dialogue. Dialogue.
Yeah,
People
concepts.
just want to hear what they say. Exactly. You're spot on. People don't want to engage in dialogue because they don't want to get out of their comfort zone, right? They feel uncomfortable.
And that's a real problem because it means you're not exposed to other ideas. You just surround yourself with the same. And that means that we become tribal because then we hang around with our people. And that becomes us and them.
It's easy to manipulate.
There you go.
And that's why then you have people who, my mind still is staggered by why people who are in a different class would advocate for, let's say, a Trump or, like your trailer trash. And you are looking at a billionaire as your, hero. And like, you have to fight for your own class. See where you are.
Oh, see-
no, you're in your own interest.
Yeah,
no,
but you're saying they should define themselves as trailer trash.
no. I use that term, right? But don't get focused on that. It is a class issue.
Hang on, but like you're saying he's a billionaire, this person's poor, therefore they
No,
want to...
I would, if you don't have a class, a political consciousness, this is fact. It is a class still issue, right? And if someone is in a particular class, let's say a hard-working class in
There's more
Michigan,
that defines a person.
no, I'm not talking about what defines them. I'm saying to struggle and get yourself, like what we were talking about before, of like changing the system, right? It isn't about aspiration to say, this man speaks the truth, blah, blah, blah. You have to actually fight, right? And break out of this current system that we have. And it isn't by just advocating and saying, yes, I'm going to hero worship someone like that. It is a class war that has to occur to break it.
Well, hold on. So, like, I've been involved in startups before, for instance. Let's say one of them took off and I was suddenly rich. Am I, like...
We
really
wouldn't be
that
talking
different?
to you
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Sorry.
Like, same as... What if I won the lottery?
Okay, like with Rachel, is it Rachel?
Rachel, yeah.
I'm not going to get bogged down in individual anecdotes. We are talking about in theory, not just theory, but as in a system of how you create something. And we're talking about class system here. And I can bring you other anecdotes, right, about these specific examples. Yes, so if you made money and changed your status, my question to you would be, philosophically, who are you now? Have you changed?
Yeah, like,
So
actually, you're right.
Yeah, I'll be then talk to you as an individual, because if you said to me, fuck it, now I don't give a shit about anyone, I'll say, you know what, Owen, fuck you, right? So I'll be there saying, you are defined by your behaviors and your actions. So the behaviors and actions of those individuals who are in that class, sure, you can stay there and put up your, Chairman Trump or Chairman Morris or Chairman anyone that you want. It is what is in your interest and what do you have to do to achieve that equity that we're saying as a society. Because right now, that is just propelling and propagating a self-fulfilling prophecy that is not going to benefit them. So again, that individual example, fine, but it'll be who are you and what are you doing for?
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, many people do say that, after they win lottery, they are changed. I think actually, if I was richer, I think I would spend more money on plants. Like some things. But we're getting a bit off topic here. But I guess, when in terms of thinking about other systems, how it doesn't have to be the way it is. Alex, do you have much experience like living in different cities, different countries, for instance?
Not living. I travel a lot and I see a lot, and I was recently in Cambodia and immersed myself a little bit there in the life there that the people have, and very beautiful people in Cambodia. But you look at how hard some of their lives are there, and I always have a problem with, if I want to get a website built, what I'm going to pay someone in Cambodia or India is a percentage of what I'd pay someone here. And yet I would argue they're doing exactly the same work. Why are we valuing them differently, right? Because we've said, well, the cost of living there is a lot less. That's why we can afford to pay them a lot less, because it doesn't. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking the value of that person we are judging to be different than the value of exactly the same job done here. The value of the person, not their economic circumstance, but the value of the person, that has to change.
Well, let's be totally honest. Like, it always depends on the color of the skin of the people that we're dealing with global.
Well, often,
Yeah, often. So,
or what you can get away with.
100%.
Which is even more of a problem.
100%.
Actually, so on that point, I'm a software engineer myself. I don't know that
Sorry, I wasn't talking about your back. You see the people of color skin, but say as a society and how the media projects and what, and we see that even what's happening in the Middle East right now. If Israel's bombing the shit out of Cyprus, it would be a different story.
I do agree with that. Alex, on your point of the people building websites, I don't know that I agree with that particular example, but I do definitely agree that what wage costs in different countries are different. And, it can lead as well. Like we were talking about Baton before, trying to invest in their future. Is it going to pan out? The viewers might be familiar with the concept of the middle income trap, where, you want to, as you start getting better at like manufacturing things and you're selling more goods, then, the companies are growing, the workers get higher salaries. And then do you end up pricing yourself out of this behavior that made you successful in the first place? The idea that, here was a place for goods to be made cheaply, for the wages to be low. And so...
but to me, it just feels wrong.
No.
Well,
we can talk about it and say that, it gives them a good opportunity because now more people are coming to India.
That is so patronising.
But
at best patronising, at worst slavery.
I'm just describing the
No,
time.
100,
Sorry, I'm not...
100. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying that view again is just so back to they're just brown folk, right? They are to be exploited.
But we might say, but hang on, we're giving them lots of work, so that's good for them. Because if they weren't that cheap, we'd have to do it here and they wouldn't be benefiting. To me, that's the tail wagging the dog.
Do you know where that manifests itself like sickeningly? It's when you see people, it's like, you simply have to barter. It's so great.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that manifests itself in that. It's like, you just got to be part of the experience and barter. Like, it's just part of,
Got to haggle.
Haggle. It's so good. It's like... No, you're not doing them a favor. It's like it's set up like that for a reason, because it is the new corporate slavery.
Sorry, the people selling the goods?
No, I'm talking about like the way that, say, the clothing industry, for instance, how they exploit these nations. And you got kids, or you got, 8-year-olds mining for cobalt in
Sudan.
in Congo and stuff like that, right? So, sure, these mining companies who don't need it are benefiting billions, right? So what we can say, but they've got jobs.
Oh, well, just on that point, yeah, like you hear the same arguments about like fossil fuel companies, for instance. I've heard, like 40 fossil fuel companies emit, 90% of the world's fossil fuel emissions. And, the implication is like, oh, those evil billionaires. But I forget if we've spoken previously on the podcast about it, but we can't just blame all those billionaires for it. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're probably buying some of these fossil fuel products yourself. Many of these people, the governments give out subsidies for fossil fuels, including Australia.
100%.
And, Labor just won again. So,
you're totally right. So it goes back to Alex's point about the system, right? So, and then the corruption and everything else. These are our resources. So, yeah, why aren't they nationalised?
So now I go even deeper, and I say,
well, it is mining.
Well, he's on a roll today. But I say, think of all the resources in the ground. They're free.
Correct.
Right? They don't have a cost associated with them. We put a price on them, right? We put a price on everything. And we've said, well, if you've got a ton of money, you can have that. You don't have a lot, you can't have, but why? It's free, it's in the ground, it's the world's resource. Doesn't belong to someone. So I look at how we've got to the point that we're at now, and it's hard to think of a different way because it's so well entrenched, right? So we have to think slate clean, like forget everything that you know. And like when I talk in the book about inflation is the perceived imaginary amount that price of goods that keeps going up. Well, it goes up because we make them go up. They don't go up. The rock is not worth more. The rock's not charging us more. We've said this rock's now worth more. Now you might say, well, it's the labour that's gone up. The rock's the same, but the labour to get the rock out. Okay, then why are you putting wages up? Oh, because we've got to keep up with... So why doesn't everyone agree not to put up prices? There's no inflation anymore, right? But we wouldn't do that because we're so well entrenched in this way of doing things now. And this is part of the problem, is that we put more Band-Aids and we treat symptoms, not causes, right? And I'm saying we need to, it's enough now. We need to start looking at the cause of these problems and getting at the very base level and stop focusing on the little thing that I see happening here and just fixing that, but never addressing this. It's like the kids running around with machetes, right? Okay, well...
You said they're going to clean them up now.
Yeah, so let's ban machetes and let's change the bail laws. It's not going to solve anything.
It's fundamentally something that's totally ridiculous.
Right?
Apart from that, it's like, stop kids accessing YouTube. Like all the kids have got VPN. Now it's just making it harder for us who can't use the internet as well as them.
It's just
like
crazy.
Really?
So this is what we do. So we treat the student instead of, as I'm suggesting, giving them values through school life all the way along, so that they don't come out and go, oh, it's okay to go and king hit someone. It's okay to go and terrorize people with machetes. You wouldn't do that if your whole life you've been taught about the value of human life. And this is what we're not doing. What we're doing is we're treating the symptoms. Let's ban machetes and put up jail terms.
I don't know.
Well, if you privatise the jails, it makes sense to those.
For our viewers outside Victoria, by the way, so you might have heard the news that there's currently lots of people with machetes terrorising, the Victorian community. But the problem's going to be solved now. The problem is going to be solved. The Premier has allocated $13 million for 40 bins. There's going to be an amnesty. You're going to put your machete in the bin.
I thought they were buying sheaths for the machetes.
But yeah, so $13 million, 40 bins, it works out. There's just a metal box.
So if you want a machete, go to the bin.
I mean, it's all bolted down.
Can I put the machete in the Can recycling machine? Get some money back for it.
But this works out to be $300,000 per bin.
Like, it's a good bin.
It's insane.
How's your bin?
But it's cool. Like, this is free. When they banned the guns, there's a buyback. Here, it's just put your machete in the bin for free. who's going to do this?
Yeah. It's just so foolish. It's a quick fix solution that's a vote getter.
It's the Simpsons,
right?
Won't someone
it a
think of the
vote getter?
children?
Well, it is about getting. We're doing something about it now. We've realised there is a problem. We're going to do something. Here's our solution. $3 million a bin.
It is
13.
13, sorry.
Yeah.
Even more rubbish.
There's more in the forward years.
Yeah. The forward estimate.
Forward estimate.
Well, it's funny because in the last few days as well, I saw Jacinta Allen, the premier. She was at Mecca.
She's the premier now.
Yeah.
I didn't get the memo.
Oh, okay. But so Mecca, the cosmetic store. Yeah. She was at their opening.
Yeah,
like,
I saw.
on video, like promoting, like, oh, what a great place to shop. Buy some makeup.
That's spruiking
Why is
Victoria, the place to be.
It's ridiculous. Like, why is the premier, promoting one particular company? And, we were saying before about, consumerism is how the world is run now, the end of history. There she is, like, trying to just...
She's not promoting a company. She's promoting Victoria. Look, people love us. You should love us. That's all.
Well, yeah, and for the deeper problems of like, why are people buying machetes in the first place? Why are there all these gangs? Why do people live their life this way?
Are there? Like,
What do you mean? There was
It was on the list.
there was
wasn't it?
pictures of the guy with the machete.
Yeah, like I'm saying, to what point is it a material issue? Like, no, I'm serious. Serious question.
What
Like,
do you mean? It was at a nearby shopping centre.
okay, again, to what extent, as opposed to other issues in society, right? They do focus on the one thing that, again,
It's very
causes
visible.
alarm, right? Causes
Yeah.
alarm. But what have they done with the motorcycle gangs? Caused, creating ice in the country, Victoria, and everything else, right?
They normally,
I'm saying
it
that-
does spill over a bit, but most of their violence is other gangs.
Again, we're talking about the violence. They know that there's major crime going on there, but they're the main issues. And forgetting that, the pokies industry, right, where the crime industry launders money through that. They know that, but they generate so much income from that, and Crown Casino and they because they generate like $8 billion, whatever.
Or the Sydney casino is
Correct.
closing down.
Yeah.
Or soon because like now that they actually have to follow the money laundering laws.
So I'm saying they're the material issues, right? But these are like the sensational stuff.
Well, they're symptoms.
Correct. But again, even the symptoms, they're not. I've never experienced any violence personally, and I'm not saying when I say experience, I haven't even seen them with kid with a machete. But I'm just saying.
They released the footage. They were threatening just random.
I know
bikes.
but I can find you footage of lots of things. I'm saying it's just a sensational thing, as we said, for the Vogue, for the caption, for a newsreel, right? Just to get it generated. So if they really wanted to address systemic issues, they go back to the education. They go back to everything. They don't want to deal with the real issues.
But here's the problem. It's not sexy because they're not going to be in power by the time this actually takes hold and shows results. What I'm proposing is a multi-generational solution, right? It's not an instant fix. That's not vote grabbing for them, right? Because we're talking about... Well, they want something that they can take to the next election and say, look at all our stats.
Jobs growth. Jobs growth.
So here's what I'm saying. Poverty, homelessness, domestic violence, all these things can be solved by changing the way we view each other, right? Not by saying, let's just build more houses, because we could do that today. We could build more houses today. We could solve homelessness. We could solve poverty today, but we're not.
Living wage. Give everyone a living wage. We can afford it. We
Because
choose not to.
we're not making that decision that that's a priority.
Correct.
And that's the problem. So it gets back to how we actually view each other and the planet that sustains us, right? And so to that end, in the book, I talk about 4 key relationships that need to be taught in school. Our relationship with the universe, nature, the amazing miracle that each of us are even here, right? I think a lot of people just take that for granted. They're so focused on their daily life, like, you're on a plane and you're whinging about, well, I didn't get upgraded to business class, when you're forgetting that you're actually floating in space. Look, I mean, focus on the miracles, the little things that are around us every day. Once you start seeing how amazing human life is to even be here, then you look at yourself, our relationship with ourselves. Are we aware of our triggers, our patterns, our filters, the way we see the world, and in turn, our actions that follow from those? Because we can be very much programmed through our upbringing or our family or whatever to see life in a certain way. And we'll take actions like that and we're running on autopilot. We're not even aware that we're doing it half the time. And so we need to have that self-awareness. Once we've done that, then there's two more relationships: our relationship with our inner circle, family, friends, and the people we deal with, and our relationship to community. It's people we don't even know, but we're connected through humanity. And we need to teach that. And if you learn that in an age-appropriate and culturally sensitive, appropriate way from preschool right through all your schooling life, you will come out of school as a human being, not just as a student, a graduate.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot in that, because based on where you started this conversation, to assume and rely on just, let's say, everyone's parents to ingrain that, and then rely on that to be what people sort of...
Well, they're often flawed too.
Well, yeah, that's what. So it's, you're relying on something to hope that a young person then grows to a functioning, proper adult, is white, and expecting that to happen, but properly, is by default. What you want is design, a good design that can be obviously changed and corrected to get the outcomes that we want. And as I said early on, the current design is achieving a particular outcome based on what the people want it to be right now. But what it needs to be is redesigned so we get a collective outcome for what we want as a society that's equitable for collective. Not equal, because I don't believe in full equality, because you still want people to get what they deserve, right? That's where equity comes in. Because you still, as a functioning society, you want people to sort of provide as well.
So my answer for that is, sorry to interrupt, but my answer for that is looking at a basic income. Talking about, right? So that everyone, and see, you think of the phrase earning a living, right? Think what that actually means. You are born through no fault of your own. You had no say in it. You're here, and now you're lumbered with this need to work, to have food, to survive. You don't get a living. You have to earn your living. For me, that should be the base. The base should be your living is taken care of. Where can you go from there?
There's a safety net. Yeah, you're not going to die.
So we're no different than birds, right? They spend all their day foraging for food. We spend all our day working to get the money to get the food. We're no different. We dress us up. Hey, we're so sophisticated. But we're doing the same thing, most of us, just to survive.
That's Maslow's hierarchy, and then you add components to it.
Oh, that's the cover of my book, right? That's the Maslow hierarchy.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah. So it is very much that I believe every person should have their basic needs taken care of. Now, from there, to your point, you can choose to work further. You can choose to volunteer. You can choose to be creative and write poetry all day if you want to, if that makes you... Imagine a whole world where people were happy and getting joy from what they...
Where you draw your energy from and what then you contribute, you'll do more of.
And that's what's the point of life, right? Where you start to follow your potential. What is it that life... Where's your purpose and meaning for you?
Your innate qualities, your capabilities, you will find them and deliver.
We're all different. We've all got different talents, and we shouldn't all just be put through the same machine. And that's what happens now. And I'm saying, now people will say, well, where's the money come from for a basic income and all of that, right? So
$22 billion for submarines and things like that.
Yeah.
well, look, there's lots of, and there's plenty of ways that can be funded. But it's more around the idea of people getting their head around, actually, that kind of makes sense. You know, if you get rid of all the welfare payments now that are means tested and who gets, who doesn't get,
Mining
and all
company
that,
welfares, all that,
and you just go, no, everyone just gets this. Right. Now, if you're a high earner, well, maybe it'll come back anyway in your tax, right? And if you're not a high earner, that's yours. You keep that, and that's yours to do.
Well, we can accept that society, and particularly Australia, can afford it.
Yeah, we can, and it is affordable, and it can be done in a way that makes sense. And you can, I mean, look, you can have a wealth tax at the high end to help fund that back in this way. There's all different ways to do it.
We choose not to.
We choose not to because it's scary, but then so was the GST when we introduced that. Right.
It's not scary. It goes back to Nolan's point. Again, I'm drawing a very long vote when, people had different ideas, even radical ones like communism, revolutions. It disrupts the current system. So if you give a hint to say, well, let's do this, no one ever wants to cut their nose, right? No one's going to cut their nose despite their own face. So you say, we're going to do this, they'll create all these things like, remember the time when even, rather than brought out the mining tax, we're going to lose the jobs. So the whole campaign, you had miners that think, I don't want to lose my job. Lose their fucking jobs. It's immaterial the amount of jobs created by the mining industry. But they scared everyone into the campaign and they voted no. We should have taxed the shit out of these companies.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would have a different society right now. And we could leverage everyone, nudge everyone to all these decisions, because we'd be saying, yeah, why not? I don't have to pay for school anymore, university. Because we live in a different society. If we're taxing these mining companies,
Yeah, you're right. It's so much money.
Because now we're having this discussion where we are right now. But if we're actually generating different wealth, we'll be taking this discussion in a different mindset.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, Alex, I want to get back. We were talking about universal basic income before.
Yeah.
And I guess viewers might be familiar that so the Fusion Party, Sustainable Australia, the Greens. There are quite a few parties that are pro UBI.
Yeah.
But what do you see as the biggest reasons? Like, why is it still a fringe idea? Why isn't it, like, what's getting in the way?
Again, I don't see that any government's going to take on something this controversial to their potential, in that how they would see it as being detrimental. There would be a lot of opposition to it too, right? And no one wants to wear that. It is good for us, for everyone to be doing well, right? It is selfishly good for us if everyone around us is doing well too. You won't get your house broken into by someone who's, you might think you got a charmed life, you're living
At the lowest argument, at the lowest life.
Right? So we need to wish well for everyone. And a way to do that is to make sure people aren't starving and people aren't sleeping rough. And we're looking after each other.
Yeah, that financial stress,
When you have financial stress, you can't think clearly. You're living in the moment
It's
for what
stressful,
you need to do. It's Maslow's hierarchy. You can't progress to the next level and go,
even emotions.
What do I want to be?
Yeah.
What do I want to do with my life? No, I'm just trying to put food on the table. People should not have to have that in their lives. And we're such a rich, abundant country and world, and we could solve it tomorrow. But so many people don't want to solve it. Right? There are people who it suits them very nicely keeping things the way they are. Right? The division between the haves and have-nots is working to their advantage. So they're not in a rush. But it's also, it's been tried. They do it in Alaska. They have the Alaska Fund there.
That's only a few $1,000s though, isn't it?
Yeah. But the concept, they've put it out there. Basically what they've said is that, the resources in the ground aren't infinite. So we don't want to prejudice the people who come in the future when there's nothing left in the ground. So we're creating this fund now so that everyone can get this payment. It's not just going to go to the people who are making use of those resources. So they do that, and they've been doing this every year, and they've got billions in this fund that get distributed every year.
Good on them, yeah.
There's been other experiments, Germany, Finland. There's been lots of implementations of this.
Of UBI.
Of UBI. And we've just got to decide if it's something we want to do. Now, there are a lot of people who say, but then who's going to work? No one's going to want to work if they don't have to work. But these case studies or these experiments have shown that, no, actually people do still want to work. They still want to better their life. We're not saying a UBI gives you a cushy life.
They still want some sort of goal, don't they? Yeah.
That's right.
Everyone will find their path.
Exactly. And it just means maybe you might take a part-time job because you'll have other time to do other things, not worrying how you're going to eat. So you'll have more work-life balance. And in this world...
Integration is the word I would prefer.
Yeah. And in an AI world, we may not have these jobs that we have now, right?
Which is what they always advocated, right? Yeah. Technology will free us up. So, no, so far it hasn't.
Here's the problem. AI, your employer will say, great, you've got AI, produce more now with what you're already doing.
I'm giving you the tools to be more productive. Fuck you.
Instead of going, great, you can step back a little bit now. And this is the problem that we have because we're so focused on our productivity being the be-all and end-all. And, you mentioned donut economics, which I talked about before. This Kate Rayworth, who's behind Donut Economics, has talked about this continual chasing of growth.
Yeah.
And the cost that it takes on everyone. There is, for me to be a successful business, I have to have made more this year than last year. And next year I've got to make even more.
So,
this constant chasing more growth.
So what used to say to my old employer when I work in the kind of innovation with product, change, transformation, improvement in space. So I always used to say to them, and I'll say this may or may not apply to any future employers.
Why are you looking into the microphone? That's the camera.
I'm manifesting it. That you can talk about productivity, you can talk about doing more with less. That's all they say. Do more. We can do more with less. I'm like, okay, you as my senior manager, talk to me now how you're going to measure effectiveness, because that is the key, right? You want to be effective with the resources you have and what outcomes we want. You don't have the capacity to have that conversation. So until you do, don't talk to me about productivity. So that's what I'm saying. You meet the right people in the right positions who understand about effectiveness outcomes, because that is a different conversation to one measure, because some of it doesn't even come to it. And the key thing is to understand what you don't want to do then. Because sometimes, as I said to our friend from the Libertarians, she goes, smaller government. I said, okay, sometimes you need 300 people to achieve an outcome. Talk to me about what outcome you want. Then we'll determine what it's required to get to that. Because just saying smaller government, fine. What to do? What?
Because that's another catchphrase.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying effectiveness measures is the key. So when I hear people saying, "Oh, the productivity commission, this and that," no. Tell me how you measure the effectiveness and the outcomes, because some of it involves not doing certain things, but you have to be quantifiable.
But this is why so many businesses want everyone back in the office, right? Because I measure your effectiveness if I can see.
Correct.
Right? Work from home. I haven't set up the key milestones and I don't know how to measure it any other way if I don't see you there.
Because they're incompetent. I've worked in, it goes back to the Peter principle, right? Everyone gets promoted to the highest level of incompetence. And I know the words, I know what they're saying, and I'm starting a new job on Monday. Okay, and I'm going to start very humble and tell them I don't understand shit. Like,
take a ciggy on the first day.
No. I'll probably, so I won't say what I'm going to do. But, I'm just going to go quite humble in there. But, if eventually they will start talking about KPIs and stuff. Yeah. And I'll be like, okay, is this the outcome you want though? Because I can hang up on every call. I can achieve everything you want. I'll find a way to get the highest outcome. But is that really what you want?
Yeah, the satisficing.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say the causes rather than it's the outcomes. What do we need to have? Not the thing that's getting on its way to there. What is the thing that we want to get out of this?
I wonder, Alex, going back to so some of the outcomes that we want from universal basic income. I've made the case previously that if we think about it as if we have the safety net, then we can quit jobs more easily that we don't like, which we don't think we're good at. And another outcome will be that if we feel our job is immoral in any way, then suddenly it's easier for us to quit that.
Yeah.
Do you see this as a game changer then in terms of the morality of our economy?
Absolutely. If people don't have to work, you've got to really have a good reason for someone wanting to stay in your workplace, right? So maybe you'll do a lot more to keep people and to do the right thing by people.
And the behaviors of people in the workplace.
I'm thinking as well what the companies are doing.
No, 100%, but take it back to the people in the workplace.
If we treat the people nicely.
So for people, even how they conduct themselves, we talk about bullying and the rest, sexual harassment. If people know that, I don't have to put up with this, it then changes how we all conduct ourselves and what, the behaviors you walk past, right? You condone.
You're right.
So then as a collective, we talk about, the points that Alex made about how we interact and engage each other on the streets and neighbors. Well, you do the same in the workplace. So you see someone acting inappropriately, you will speak out. You will be a whistleblower. You will do the right thing. So therefore, by default, that elevates the standard and the value, what you value in companies. And they'll be like, no, this is who we are. We don't just have slogans to say we're a green company, we greenwash. No. It is because culture is defined by one thing, behavior. No slogans. So the behavior of the company or any whether it's a bakery or a coffee shop, is their culture is defined by their behavior.
Yeah, their actions, not the virtue signaling of
Correct.
logos on their website.
Once a year it's like, International Women's Day, or, today it's Are You Okay Day.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, are you okay today? I'm your boss and I'm concerned because
Well,
your hair's looking like you look pink today. Like,
Well, it actually reminds me, viewers might be familiar with the scandal like a few years back. Remember Brittany Higgins and who was the man?
yeah, that little dweeb.
Anyway,
I'm not using any names here, so it could be anyone.
anyway, but so a few years before that as well, there was a scandal about how the prayer room in Parliament House has been misused, and so like. Well, the scandal was Christopher Pye and a few of the other people were hiring like gay prostitutes to come to the prayer room. Yeah, no, who would imagine?
Christopher Pye.
Well, yeah, I was telling my mother like he's gay. Yeah. But, anyway, but yeah, so
Pye.
it was curious that
Defense Minister.
if you have
up this fight.
if you have any of these problems in other companies, like the bakery, for instance, you can report it to like, some sort of government oversight panel. But if these, problems of sexual harassment and that were already happening in Parliament House itself, who do you report it to? And so, yeah, that was one of the problems that came out afterwards. Like, yeah, there needs to be more oversight. Parliament has staff. It's still running like any other organization at the end of the day.
But yeah, who's going to speak up? And this is the problem. So UBI, again, there are lots of side benefits from having UBI. At its most basic, people aren't killing themselves to survive.
So if we just concentrate that last bit of conversation we just had, we just discussed why it doesn't exist and why the powers that be don't.
The powerful people like the power of the name. Yeah.
Think of the employer groups who are going to go, no, we can't have this. People will be able to leave whenever they want.
They have a voice. But look what they've done as far as whistleblowers, right? The government's saying, we've put laws in place to allow and facilitate whistleblowers, but the only people who've gone to jail are the whistleblowers in Australian cases.
David McBride.
Yeah. So even the ATO guy, like he came out, said what the ATO was doing with the debt collection.
He went to jail. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they prosecuted the shit out of him.
Wow, yeah.
Right. And even the other lad, forget his name now, he's basically suffering like with cancer and stuff.
I don't remember that.
There's another one. I'll get into the next one. But yeah, the only people who've actually been prosecuted are the actual whistleblowers.
Yeah, no good.
This is the problem. You look in the US, if you have a job, often your medical benefits come from the employer.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's crazy, yeah.
So you will stay sometimes in that job,
Freedom
even
of
if you
choice in
don't want
America,
to, because of your health benefits.
Yep.
So we need to disentangle all of this and give the individual the right to be able to say, okay, I've got my basic needs met. I can work here. I can work here. I could choose not to work. I could choose to be creative. I can volunteer. I could do all these things and help these people in this way. I can live my life. And that's what I'm saying. The answer to what's the point? It's individual. It's not everyone must go through this meat machine and everyone must do the same thing, which is effectively what we say
sausages.
now. All right. I'm saying we all have different strengths and different skills and different wants and needs. And I think we're not allowed to explore those because we are, as you say, kept on the treadmill to keep us busy.
I wonder, Alex, on the point of what we can expect from society, how it'll change it, that sort of thing. I always like to play a game with the guests, guess a quote. It's related to this. Peter, you might, you probably know this. I'd be surprised if you don't. But I guess
must be another one that's from ancient Greece that will face Napoleon again.
But anyway, so Alex, wait till I finish.
Is there a buzzer? Can I press a buzzer?
But so I think we've been through a period where too many people have been given to understand that if they have a problem, it's the government's job to cope with it. I have a problem. I'll get a grant. I'm homeless. The government must house me. They're casting their problem on society. And there is no such thing as society. There are individual men and women, and there are families. And no government can do anything except through people. And people must look to themselves first. It's our duty to look after ourselves and then also to look after our neighbour.
I'd say it's Pauline Hanson, but it's too articulate for her. So,
Is it Australian?
It's a Western leader from the last 50 years.
It sounds very conservative.
I thought you would know that, but I'll give you a hint. It's often just a subset of this quote that's read out, specifically the part, "There's no such thing as society."
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Okay. But so it was Margaret Thatcher.
No.
1987, she said this, yeah.
Give me their names. Tell me who. Yes.
Oh, that's right. But well, I liked so
Hold
yeah.
on. So that, yeah, okay. Sign up. I like.
Well, so I mentioned it's normally read out just this part. There's no such thing as society, but this part beforehand.
It's because
where,
no one spoke to her.
Dennis did.
Dennis. Well, I don't know if Dennis actually ever spoke. I saw her once pull a string behind his back.
Oh. Her husband,
Puppet master.
Yeah.
But well, yeah. So on her point that there are these problems and people see it as like society's job to fix it. Alex, I was reading as well. Like, I gather one of the takeaways from your book is like it's on us to do something. Nobody's just going to do it for us. And so I agree with Margaret Thatcher on that aspect that it's not just going to happen. Like, we need to do something ourselves. And I mean, her saying that, nobody's going to look after the homeless people.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but I don't think anyone views Margaret Thatcher as someone who just stayed back and let things happen.
Well, exactly. She's saying that other people should also adopt this view.
But she was very much, a key part of kicking off neoliberalist policy, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so
her and Reagan,
she is very much waving the Democratic Republic of Congo flag. Look at that. Where these are behind the scenes of something else.
Hang on.
She's saying, it's society. People have got to do stuff. It's one thing to say it, but her actions were something different.
Like in her personal life, I got the impression she was someone who was very like a proactive go-getter.
Really?
It wasn't she?
For society?
No, but like in her own life, and that she's recommending that other people do the same.
Yeah, well, sure. So Aid also was, a lot of people. If we look at her as character,
yeah, I mean that might not be nice people, but like she was.
Oh, fine. Now, from that aspect, absolutely, she was
She was the Falkland Iron Lady.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For someone who wants to model themselves on how do I achieve infamy, absolutely.
But I'm saying though, like if we want political change, we can't just think like, the powerful people should change it, society should change it.
So I agree. I've subscribed to what you're saying. That also means that if you just allow your political leaders to just do what they want, no, you have to actually be involved and force them to do what you want. Don't let the government have done complete control. And someone like her should have been taken in. No, I agree with what she says.
Not assassinated, just
replaced. Why not? Why not? If you can't achieve what you want for
people voted for her.
Oh, fuck elections. Fuck elections. It's part of the system that Alex is saying has to change.
Well, yeah, but I blame them. I don't blame her.
No, I agree with her. I'm subscribed to what she said. You can't rely on other people to just do all the work. So if you don't agree with what's being done, take action. Do something. I'm a Thatcherite. Should have got rid of Thatcher.
And look, I basically what I'm saying is we need to drive this.
100%.
Government's not going to drive it. Government can implement it. They can, they can follow legislated. They can do what needs to happen, but it's not going to come from government. Government's got their hands full just trying to keep all their balls in the air at the moment. And I think,
Mostly the Liberal Party, from what I understand.
lots of balls. So, I think it's got to come from us. And look, the philosophy, do you want to grab the book? It's just open.
Yeah.
The philosophy is really my observations of the world's gone
the
mad.
pyramid.
Yeah, that's, So
Let me show you viewers,
there you go. No, and it really is about thinking differently. And I don't want to take Steve Jobs' quote, but really question everything, because the status quo, the inertia to shake off the status quo is enormous. You can't underestimate what we need to do to move things. But if we get enough people who, and I think there are enough people who just, I haven't found anyone who's read this book who said, no, I don't agree with all the things that you're saying in there. Everyone goes, I agree. Everything you're saying in here is true.
Everything.
Yeah.
Bold claim. Okay.
Yeah. But the how are we going to make it happen? That, people might disagree with some of the methods that I've spoken about, how we're going to do it. So if enough people at least want to see change happen, that's a starting point. Now what we got to do, we can't just be doing it in little pockets. There's not enough strength in us doing it in our little silo. We must come together, become a groundswell, like Me Too, right? We become a movement that can actually change things globally. Change happens. But we just got to stop being scared and go, look, I'm helpless. What can I do?
I guess so one of the organisations that might be relevant, Basic Income Australia, and that's how we met.
Yep.
I guess, I always advocate for people to join political parties, especially minor parties. Is that something you would also recommend? One to
Let me just think about that.
we don't have to choose a specific one, but I guess like if we want political change, that is sort of an obvious route, isn't it?
Well, you can be an independent.
Look, I'm not going to say don't join a political party, but I honestly, and I'm going to be honest here, I honestly believe you can make a bigger difference by being a big lobby group to government than being in government.
Wait,
corruption.
but hang on.
Corruption.
Like if we think about UBI, for instance, no matter how hard you ask the Labor Party, they're never going to do it, are they?
But see, if everyone in Australia wanted it done, they'd have to. So lobby government.
Well, like pressure them with the threat of getting kicked out of government.
Lobby government. That's what I'm saying. To get things done. Now, look, I love what I read about the Fusion Party, right? It just absolutely resonates, right? And I see, what the Fusion Party stands for makes sense in terms of it's the most aligned with the philosophy.
Yeah, I think
Right.
so. Yeah.
So, yes, but I do say in the book, lobby to make things happen. And if you're in, and I'm talking about a major party. If you're in a major party, you can't make things happen, right? You can't stand up and say things differently. So you just got to follow suit. As an independent or a smaller party, absolutely. There is more free reign. Hang the consequences. Who cares? What are you going to do to us?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, stick up, stand up, say what you believe. And I believe that lobby and independent thinking is going to get us there. Well, it's not going to come from
We're halfway there. We're halfway there now. We've got, say, what's her name? The red menace up north.
Oh, Pauline.
And the other bimbo down, the other one,
Her daughter in Tasmania.
For instance, and even some of the others, like whether it's Lambie and the rest. So we've got the independence, we just need the thinking bit.
There you go. 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
No, I'm saying, at least to be fair, the logistics are there. Now we just got to get the right people who actually are thinkers. No, there's no to be fair.
And look, there are good people involved. I do.
There are some good people. Like what's the ex
David
rugby
Pocock,
player?
yeah.
I love.
I was going to mention him.
100%. I've got absolutely a lot of time for what he advocates for.
There's I'm going through in the Fusion Party work at the moment. I'm updating our whistleblower policy. It was recently suggested by Andrew Wilkie. And then it's returning to Parliament now with David Pocock and Jackie Lambie.
I've got a lot of time for his commentary.
But we'll see. I don't know if listeners will be that interested to read the whistleblower policy. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
That's huge. Like that's where Australia is and where it's going. That to me is like huge.
Look. But Alex, before we finish up, I guess how can people find your book? Is it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon. The Philosophy. You can get it on amazon.com.au or
what's the audio books?
Yeah, so it's available in paperback, it's available as a Kindle, and it's also on Audible as an audiobook.
Who does the reading?
Me.
Oh,
nice. Okay. Alex Kain, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.